So hi, everyone. My name is Stephen Rice. I'm a principal product manager here at Microsoft on the OneDrive and SharePoint team. I'm one of our people that owns collaboration, sharing, everything from UX to platform. That is what our team owns. Some of you may know me from the Sync Up podcast. That is the official OneDrive podcast. I've got some merch that we can throw into the audience, although I don't know if I can, without the t-shirt can, I'm not gonna hit the back. But we've got some, maybe some quizzes and things like that throughout the session. So if you get the answers right, we'll throw you some beanies. And if not, if you come up, ask questions, that's good too. I'm joined today, of course, by Isen, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Isen Charrier, and I'm a product manager on the OneDrive team, working specifically on improving all of your sharing and collaboration experiences across M365. So we got some pretty new baked-in live demos to show you today. Lots of cool stuff. And if you were in the previous sessions today we're doing a full deep dive of what that means. So really exciting stuff.
Yeah, so let's start by looking at our agenda in this nice little stair step. So as you're gonna find out, we are overhauling the sharing experience and the sharing model itself, the underlying architecture in OneDrive and SharePoint for how you share files and folders. We're gonna start by talking a little bit about the motivation. Why are we making those changes? What is the feedback that we've heard from all of you that we're trying to address? Then we're gonna go into walkthroughs. This is the bulk of the time today. Isen is gonna walk you through in explicit detail every change we're making, a lot of the cool experiences it'll enable. It's gonna be fantastic. Then we're gonna talk about some timelines because everyone wants to know when things are coming, and we will answer those questions for you all. And then we're gonna talk a little bit about looking ahead. So what you can expect from us as we start rolling out these changes. Let's get started today. I'm gonna start with some big numbers because that's always fun. The sharing experience that we have in the product today, that shared dialogue and things like that, currently used in over 64 applications inside of Microsoft. The way to think of it is anytime you're sharing a file and folder, it's one experience all powered by the sharing experience that we're gonna be showing you today. That experience is used 1.2 billion times per month. People share a lot of files, share a lot of folders. It is one of our most used experiences, and which is why we're spending an entire session today talking about what we're doing there, why it's important, and how we're making it better. This last one, I threw in for me. How many of you have been to, let's raise hands, how many of you, this is your first SharePoint, Microsoft M365 Community Conference? Raise your hand. Awesome, lots of new hands.
Wow.
How many of you were here last year in Orlando for the conference? A few more. How many of you have done, let's say, more than 5? And I'll include SharePoint conference and things like that, predecessors. Okay, a few hands. So I've done this conference, I think this is my 4th or 5th time across SharePoint conference and Microsoft M365 conference. I'll say this I'm gonna keep hyping everything up, but the change we're about to talk about is I think the biggest change we've made to sharing in all of that time. So I started coming to this conference, I believe in 2017 or 2018. And this change is bigger than anything we've done or talked about at any of those conferences. So now that I've set the bar really high, let's start talking about what we're doing. Yeah, the biggest change to sharing in 15 years. Okay, first quiz coming up. I'm gonna show you a picture on this page, and I want you all to shout out to me what you think it is. So I'm gonna do it in 3, 2, 1. Llama. We see rabbit, we see duck. Yeah. Sorry, there was one correct answer that would have gotten you a beanie, but there's 2. So I want you to keep this image in mind. Depending on your perspective, there's rabbits, there's ducks, but it's the same image. That's gonna be oddly relevant to what we're gonna talk about today and why we're making these changes. So let's talk about the type of feedback that we hear when it comes to sharing files and folders inside of OneDrive and SharePoint. And it's really 2 perspectives, one rabbit, one duck, if you think about it. We have our advanced users, people that know the product really well. They're the SharePoint people. They come up to me and ask me questions about inheritance and things like that. All of those people, when they give us feedback on the experience today, they tell us 2 things. One is sharing is a lot of work to get right today. There's a lot of capabilities, it's complex, and it's a lot of knobs to get things to where they want it to be. Number 2 is they tell me they can't control files the way they want. They expect to have control over their files. They want to keep data secure. Because of that complexity, it creates challenges and they're not able to do it. Basic users have the same sets of problems, but from a different lens. They don't approach it of, I can't quite get all my knobs in the right place. they come to us with feedback that says, hey, why do you have so many knobs that I don't need to use and don't understand? The product is too complex, and that makes it hard for them to make the correct decisions. The key thing that they tell us today is that when you're managing multiple sharing links, so people in my organization can edit link, a different link for people in my organization can view, it's too much complexity. They struggle with it. So that brought us to our goals for how we want to approach this new model and new sharing experience. For advanced users, we're looking to lower the floor, if you've ever heard that expression. Lower the floor, but keep the ceiling high. If you're just doing some basic sharing operations, how can we make that as easy for you as possible? And the goal is to keep it simpler out of the box, but we want to keep all of the power that we have today. If you need that granularity, it should be there for you. The mantra has been simple by default, powerful on demand. For our more basic users, people that are just coming to the product that are new, we want to make sure that sharing feels more familiar to them. It works the way they expect so they can make the correct decisions. And we want to take all of that complexity that we support, that granularity, and put it in context. When should you use it? When is it useful? What is it used for? So as we walk through the new experiences and pieces, keep our goals, keep the feedback in mind, and you'll start to see how we're answering each of those pieces depending on the type of user you are. So let's talk about generations of sharing. So the first generation of sharing back when SharePoint Online first really kind of launched was this direct permissions model. I want someone to have access to the file. I want to send to access my file. I type in Ascend's name. I give her permission. I click done. We're good to go. As people started using that, they started running into issues. Ascend would be like, I need to share this with my boss, Michaela. Let me forward the email to Michaela. Michaela clicks on the link, gets an access denied, because it was all about this one-to-one permission management. That brought us to generation 2, which was sharing links. How can we create a URL that has a scope, things like people in my organization or anyone in the world, a permission, view, edit, whatever it might be, and enable you to forward those within the experience and just work. Today, we're going to introduce to you the third generation of sharing inside of M365, which we call hero links. And we call them hero links because these are links that have superpowers. They are more powerful than anything you can possibly imagine. Sounding vaguely Star Warsian, but that's fine. So today we're going to introduce to you what we're calling the hero sharing link model, the guiding mantra, simple, smart, and secure. If you were at the keynote session yesterday and Jeff showed that cool slide with teams using simple, smart, and secure, we did it first. That's all. That's the lesson I want you all to take away from today. Not really. But there are kind of 3 facets to this. We're going to introduce a hero link, which Ascend will show you in detail how it works, what its powers are. But the idea is that every file gets a single hero link that is more powerful than the other links you're using today. That link is the address bar link. It is a link you get out of copy link. It is a link you get out of the share dialog. One single link for users to think about and manage in those average cases. Number 2, we want users to stay in control. When you're working with your content, we want to make sure you're sharing with the right people, that the right people have access to it. This is most important in this era of Copilot and agentic experiences. For those of you who've been around a long time, you may remember like the Delve era, where when permissions are not set up right, content gets exposed in ways you don't expect. There's a bunch of great functionality that Sesha showed yesterday and that other sessions will talk about on ways you can be reactive and manage those types of things. We're going to show you how the hero link model helps you stay in control of your content with a secure default link that keeps your files where you want them. And finally, we want to unify our sharing experiences. Today, we have a separate sharing and manage access experience, which can make it difficult to know who has access to my file at any given time to make those informed decisions. So we're going to walk you through our unified new experience to show you how it all works. So with all the setup out of the way, hopefully you understand our motivations, our goals. I'm going to pass it off to Ascend now, who's going to start taking you through all of the demos, show you how it all works, and then we will flip back and talk about timelines and things looking ahead. So I will step off the stage and hand it off to Ascend.
Thank you, Stephen. So yes, we have some really exciting things to show. And before we begin, I think I want to start with a scenario that I think is very, very common and super crucial to all of your collaboration needs. It is how to share. How do you begin your sharing journey? And so I'll walk you through the first scenario, which is around adding and notifying people. And today I want to be able to share my draft document that I've built for this annual report for the company, and I want to share it with Eric. And I want to make sure that Eric is able to see it before the rest of my marketing division. I also want to make sure that Eric gets a notification and gets a nice summary so that he can get context prior to sharing. And so I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I'm going to open my OneDrive. The first step that I'll do is go ahead and click on Share. And you now see this visual refresh interface of the sharing experience that Steven talked about. So what I see immediately is I have confirmation that my file hasn't been shared yet. It is completely private, and my annual report hasn't been broadly shared with anyone. So I have two options that I can do here. I can either add people, which will grant people or groups direct access to the file and share with them individually, or I can go and share with a link and copy the link and paste it around. And that's the hero link that Steven just introduced, and I'll deep dive on what that means, but essentially I can choose the audience that will work for this file. So right now it's set at only people added to the file can access it. And if I open and click on this, you'll see very familiar options that we have today and we support today. I can click on people in your organization with the link, an anyone link, and right now I want to share with Eric, so I'll keep it selected to only people added with the file can access, and I'll start sharing with Eric. Again, I see a very familiar experience here where I can select the different permissions that I have here. If I wanted to review the file and track changes, I could select this. I want Eric to gain full access to this and be able to edit it. So I'll share with edit permissions. And what I see here is that new capability where I can send an email without notification. And that's a great feature for me because I've been wanting to share so many groups that have 300, 400 people, and I don't want to spam the entire group. And so that would be great to just be able to grant them access without having to notify and send an email to hundreds of people. For this scenario, I'm just going to send a notification to Eric. And what I'll do is also click on this that says Add a File Summary with Copilot. And what will happen is it'll give a nice summary when Eric opens his email in his inbox, and he'll be able to see a quick summary of what my annual report is about, and he'll get context prior to even opening and accessing the file, which is awesome. It's time saving. It's perfect for people who are sharing lots of documents, and I've been collaborating with Eric on so many files, and so he'll be able to know that this is the report that I need help with. So, hey, Eric, can you please help review this draft? And I'll click Add, and just like that, Eric has been added to the file. He can now see a notification in his inbox that shows the nice summary of the file and gives him that context that he needs. We are able to see that I'm able to add people or groups directly to the file. I was able to share with a Copilot summary and also saw this new capability where you can also notify people directly or without notification, which is great. So now we'll move on to the hero link. This is one of the biggest changes, as Steven mentioned, and today I'll show you the power of the hero link. So today I want to share with Kat Larson. She does not have access to the file. She's actually messaged me on Teams, and she's been asking me to share that draft with her. It wasn't ready yet for her to see it, but I feel like the draft is coming to a good place, and I feel pretty good about sending it to her. So I'll show you what that looks like. And I want to make sure that everyone in the company is able to also be able to see and access the file. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So I'll just go ahead in the file settings section that I mentioned. And what I'll do is click on people in your organization with the link can view. And you'll see now this notification that shows me that people in the organization will be able to access the file. So I'll click on Allow, and it's pretty instant. Now you see that the file has been updated to work for anyone in the organization with the link in view. So I'll take a look at my chat with Kat, and I did promise her this link, so let's see. So what I'll do is there's two ways that I could go about this. I could just copy the link and give her the access from here, or one of my favorite features that we're announcing today is that you can just go ahead and grab the URL from the browser, and it'll just work. So let me show you how that looks like. So here it is, Kat. The link is ready. I now get a nice preview of this file so that I can confirm and have the confidence that this is the right file that I'm sharing with Kat. Here is Kat's account. She's now seeing the link, and I'll click on it. And guess what? It just works. She has access. And I'll show you something even cooler. As Kat, I now go to the share experience, and what I see is exactly the same experience. So there's that confidence again, that if Kat was to copy the link or share the address bar URL, she would be able to pass around the same link with the intended permission that I shared with. And so sharing with people inside of your organization has never been easier. I'll switch back to now recap. The hero link is secure by default. As you've seen, it started with only people added until I choose to broaden up the access and configure it. And now I am able to see that there's only one link that rules all the access for the file, that takes that control and makes it so much easier for you to update that hero link. You can also share your files with just grabbing the URL from the browser, and it'll just work. And what is fantastic about this change is that the same way that you're copying the link, you're sending that link through email, or copying it from the browser URL, it is the same link. It'll just work. Now, that's also a scenario that I think is really important to cover, and we've gotten a lot of questions, which is how do I share externally? I think that's a question that is a great one, and I think if you have it enabled in your tenant, I can show you how this experience make it even easier than ever. So I want to share a file with people, to people that are outside of that organization. I'll go ahead and share with Steven Song, and I'll type in Steven Song, and now I get this pop-up that tells me if I want to share outside of the organization. And what I'll do is click continue, and I have full confidence that this person is outside of my organization, and I feel confident with sharing with them. I also add different people, and it'll give me exactly the right count and the right amount of people that have shared with that are outside of the organization. So you can imagine in my scenario, I could have a mix of people that are internal and outside, and I'll be able to detect exactly who are the specific users that are outside of my organization. So I'll do add, and just like that, I'm able to add Steven Song, who's outside of the organization, following exactly the same add people flow that I did earlier. And what's really nice is I'm able to see now this new tag that identifies this person and shows them as external, which is even nicer and gives me, again, this simplicity when coming to managing those permissions, and I'll show you very quickly what that looks like. It makes it just easier to find all these people that are outside of my organization. Another cool thing that I see is Kat has access to the file, and I'm able to see her here as open. And so that's another feature that I'll show you very, very soon as part of the managing access story. Let's recap the external sharing. And so, as you can see, I could easily identify the people outside of my organization. I was able to receive a prompt or a pop-up that asked me to confirm that I feel confident with sharing with them. And I also get this new external tag that makes it even easier for me to identify all these users. Additional links. So this is another concept that I want to share with you that's really perfect for those advanced and power users. And so what you'll see is I can essentially create a separate to share with edit permissions, but I want this link to expire by the end of the month for the marketing division. So I'll show you what that looks like. I'll click on the more options here, and you can see now this create new sharing links that shows me also a description that this is a place where I can add expiration dates or passwords. So I'll click here, and the really cool interface shows me that I can now give it a name. So I'll give it a fancy name for my product marketing manager owners. And I'll select a people you choose link where I can select all my marketing groups that I want for them to get access for a certain period of time. And this is where I'll find the expiration date. I'll set it by the end of the month. And if I click on create, it now shows this under the other sharing links section, which is really neat. And you can imagine here, I could do so many combinations. And what I really like is the structure and being able to go back to the links that I created for my specific needs and scenarios and be able to label them so that I can understand which scenarios they're working for. So I could even create a link for my external vendor team or my feature crew and give them different sets of access and permissions. What I showed you is the power of, so we're keeping the same rich capabilities for sharing links, and you can name the link. You can also set an expiration and password.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick recess while Sen fixes the,
Okay.
the microphone. So for the demos we've done thus far, let's see. We're going to go through add people, the kind of hero link and address bar, and then we'll talk about additional links. So let's do applause for each one and see what are folks liking most. So let's start with add people, the new experience. Okay, couple people there. Let's see, let's go out of order. How about the additional link experience that Asen just showed you, naming links? Yeah. Okay, and then the hero link, how are we feeling? Yeah. That's what we want to hear. You know, I debated getting like a cape and like running around on stage, but you know, maybe not the right approach. All right, Asen, how are we doing?
I think we're good.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Stephen. Now let's look at another scenario that I think is something that I do pretty often. I want to share a folder with people, but I don't want to have to manage and share individual items one at a time. I want to be able to just share a folder and have it just work for everyone that I want to add. And I want to just make it very easy and making sure that anyone inside of the marketing division can access it successfully. So I'm going to show you. In my environment, I'm on my OneDrive, and I have this special project folder that I haven't shared yet. You can see that all the items contained inside are fully private and haven't been shared. And so I'll go back to the folder. And what I'll do is update the hero link for the folder and make it accessible for people inside of the organization once they have the link. And let me just add cat in here. And what you'll see is when I go back to any item inside of that folder, it quickly picks up on all of the access that I've done inside of my folder. And you can imagine how powerful this will be. I can just, with confidence, make sure that Kat has access to every item that I have here, and as well as anyone that is inside of my organization without hitting those access denied. Another scenario I can think of is I like to share pictures inside of a folder. And so being able to not have to share those pictures individually and make sure that family and friends don't have access, I can just do it at the folder level and it'll just work. So that's the really, really cool thing about this. And it's pretty instant. You see it as one click, and everyone that gets access to those pictures will now be able to access the file with no issues. And I won't have to deal with so many access requests anymore. And so you've seen that adding people or groups to the folder will just instantly populate also all the files that are contained inside of that shared folder, and they will be adopted by those files. And so I can seamlessly update the link, the hero link, and it'll work for all the files without having to manage access at the item level. Okay, now that we're experts at sharing, I think we're ready to manage some permissions and go even deeper. Exciting. And so I want to see at a glance who has access to my file. And I also want to be able to manage the access of the file and make sure that no one that's external to the organization has edit permissions. So I'm going to go into my document that's now a final report. I've worked on it for the past couple of weeks and it's getting really good. And I can see that actually a lot of people have access now. I can see all the people that have been added directly to the file. I can also see that the link that I shared with Kat earlier and I had shared with, I believe, Steven, is now able to see the file and access it successfully. I can also see the previous sharing links that I had shared that shows me all the marketing members and AI marketing members that have access to the file. So I get a full at-a-glance view of who has access to my files and all the ways that they've gained access to this file, which is pretty neat. So now the scenario here is that I want to be able to make sure that all of my external users do not have edit access. The really cool thing about this unified interface is that you can just manage the link and permission just in one click. And so it's as easy as downgrading it here from the list, and it's pretty instant. Just one click. That's all it takes. So my mission here is to find all of my external users. Imagine this list now being hundreds of people that have access. I could go about different ways here. I could look for the external tags capability, or I could also search for specific users that I remember adding that are outside of my organization. Or even better, I can use this filter capability and drill into the external account and I get the full list of people that are outside of my organization. I can multi-select, and guess what? Yes, you can bulk permission, and I can click here, and it'll update all of my external users now can view only, and that's it. It was the easiest task for me because I was able to use and leverage the filter. You can imagine that the filter can also be used for groups. I can also look at only people individually, so that makes it super customizable for me to be able to just drill down and understand who has access and the different ways that they've gained access. So I feel like the mission is complete. I was able to downgrade all of my external users and ensure that everyone who should have access has access with the intended permissions. Cool, so what we've shown you is that you can see easily at a glance who has access to your file. You can also directly update from that people list, so no more context switching. You can do it from the same place as you would today. Today, you would have to go through share or manage access. Now you can do it all in one centralized place, which is super powerful, and in just one click, you're able to update those permissions. We've also shown you the multi-select, and you can use it to do bulk permissions and update those links in bulk. You can leverage the external tags that we've shown you, and you can search and use the filter capability, which is honestly one of my favorite features. I'm going to be using it every day. All right, another thing that is super powerful that we haven't tackled yet is this hero link is actually something that you can update over time. So if I realize that now my annual report that I had shared with everyone, I want to make sure that it is now working only for the people I intended to work, I can restrict the access and make sure that only people that are added will be able to access it. So let's take a look at that. So as I mentioned earlier, Kat and Steven has access. And I want to make sure that only the people that are in my people list have access to the file. So what I'll do is change this to an only people added link, and I get this prompt that tells me, hey, do you want to restrict the file access? And it tells me exactly what the consequence will be. This will revoke complete access to Steven and Kat, and only the people added to the file will have access to it. So I'll do restrict and see what happens. So it's pretty immediate, the access has changed. I'm now gonna go to Kat's final report and see if she has access. She doesn't. That's unfortunate, but that was expected. And so it's this page that you're probably all familiar with, but that shows that it actually worked. I was able to restrict the access, and now only my marketing team will be able to access the file. So that's the really, really powerful thing about the hero link, is that the options of the link are really infinite. You can broaden up the scope, you can narrow it down over time, and it'll be retained for everybody. And what that means is that any time that you share that link inside of an email, or you copy the link, or you share it with the browser URL, it is the same URL, and it will adapt over time as you change it and modify it. So you don't have to worry about having to create a new link and reshare with other people. I think today that's my painful experience. If I've made a mistake or I want to change a link, I have to delete the link and create another link. No more. You can just do it and update it in the same link, and it'll now update for everybody else. And you get this helpful pop-up also that informs you about the consequences. If you were to restrict access and revoke access to some people, you'll get really that nice confirmation before you do so. And yeah, anyone who isn't using the link directly will lose access as expected. I'll show you now even more granular control. And you're probably asking yourself, okay, for sensitive documents, I want to make sure that only I am in control of that hero link. Well, it's possible now. And I'll show you through this scenario where I am the file owner, and I want to make sure that only I can update the hero link or add net new people. And so if we go through this document that I've shared with people, I want to make sure that the configuration that I share in settings will now apply to only me as the file owner inside of my OneDrive. And so I have this option where, by default, editors are able to reshare and add people. And if I select the only file owner, what it'll do is that it'll make sure that only I can add people or modify the hero link, which makes me even more in control and makes me feel good about the security of my features. So I am for sure confident that my file is fully secure, and you can imagine that inside of a SharePoint site, all of the site owners would also be considered those owners that could update these items. So this is a great new feature and capability that we didn't have before, and you can now make sure that anyone that you edit, that you share with edit permissions and is an editor will not be able to modify and kind of mess up the stuff that you did initially, which would be some of the fears that people have. Okay, another question that I think is probably has been top of mind for you all is, how will that work today if this change rolls out, and what happens to all my previous files that I had shared with, all the links that I had created? Well, I'll show you what this looks like. So a few months ago, I had shared my semester planning document with all of my feature team, and I also shared it more broadly to partners, and the broader organization probably has it. So the real nightmare here would be to have to reshare everything and ask them to update their link. Well, I am here to tell you that it is fully backwards compatible, and I'll show you how I'm able to just continue to work as expected. Here, I'm opening this file, which is my semester planning document that I had shared in a site. All of the owners will have access and show inside of this people list. I can see all of the group and site members. And my file access hasn't been configured yet. So that would be my first time experience seeing this inside of my site. But this really, really nice add-on is that I can see all the previous links that I had created. So it's fully backwards compatible. I can see all my sharing links that I had shared with my feature team, I can see that I can actually reuse the capability from the additional links. So if I wanted to review and label those links to organize them a little bit better, I could do that. And I can see that I also have my organization link that I had shared previously. So all I need to do is review those access and make sure that it is still working as, they will still work, but I wanna make sure that this is still respecting my needs. And I'm gonna go ahead and since I had shared this deck to work with people inside of the organization, I wanna update it so that anyone that comes back to the sharing experience will just be able to, again, copy the link, copy the address bar, and it'll just work. And I think what's fantastic about this change is getting exactly the right count of sharing links that I had created so that I have powerful information right at my fingertips and I'm able to know and make better decisions moving forward when sharing these links. And so, again, you don't have to worry about your old files and your previously created links. They will continue to work. This change is fully backward compatible. You can review under other sharing links, which is essentially reusing our additional link capability so you can label them, organize them if you wanted to, or you can even clean up your old links. If you wanted to just leverage the hero link, you could just make use of that moving forward and configure the hero link so that it works for anyone else that comes back to the sharing experience. Another thing you might ask yourselves is, what about admin defaults? So the current admin defaults will still be existing today. If you go to your admin portal, you'll see that those defaults will apply to all these additional links. So every time that you create a new additional link, it will reuse those defaults. We have net new defaults for the hero link that will be at the site collection level. And for the tenant level, we will have defaults to only people added to make sure that your files, as you've seen in the demos today, start with only people added, and it makes it secure by default. And the default permissions will also default to view. As you've seen in those previous demos as well, I was able to change to a company shareable link, and it will always default to those view permission until you enable them a little bit broader. We're at the last bits of the demo, and I think this one is also one of my favorite changes. You probably have seen this very famous, or I should say maybe infamous page. It's a page that a lot of our users are seeing today, and it hasn't been updated since the early 2000s. And so I'm here to tell you today that we're making a big change. And I, as a person, want to make sure that I need quick access to all of my meeting recordings, all of my files and important documents. And to me, that's sometimes the scariest screen that you can see is you don't have access to these files. And so I want to introduce to you the new webpage for requesting access, making sure that we're making a delightful and seamless experience for not only our sharers, but also the recipients who access your files. And as you can see, it's a more modern page that we have today. It's not only a visual change, but we're actually changing completely the backend. We're rolling out new APIs for this, and we're gonna have in-product, inline approvals for site owners and file owners to be able to request seamlessly and approve those requests very, very easily. How do you feel about the new page?
Yeah.
Cool. And this is really to show you that we're really focused on our team to not only think about the sharing experience at the beginning of the sharing journey, but also the recipients, and thinking about the whole end-to-end experience of how those people will now, for example, Kat, who didn't have access to the file, will now find herself in this request access flow and making sure that everyone has this perfect experience and the best in-class sharing experience moving forward. All right, now I'll pass it back to Steven to talk about timelines.
Yeah, let's give a big round of applause for Ascend. That was like 30 minutes of solid demoing. Amazing. don't know if it's just me. I know it's a little sad to see the old access denied and access request page go away. It's like no? It's just me. Okay.
I think we're over it. Yeah.
It's been with us for so long. So let's talk about timelines. So we just showed you the new HeroLink model, the new experiences. You will understandably want to know, when is this all coming? So let's look at the timeline here. I've got some snazzy like Microsoft PowerPoint animations to take us through this. Here's our line of time. And today, we are right here at the Microsoft 365 Community Conference. This is the first public announcement of this experience. You are all the first people to hear about this. Blogs and things are going up as we speak, I believe. So this is awesome. We know where we are. So let's look ahead. Okay. So starting, oh, I did miss one. There we go. Okay. The next thing that is going to happen is on the third Wednesday of every month, the OneDrive team does a public OneDrive customer office hours. Anyone can join, come and talk to us, ask questions. It's usually like 30 minutes of content, 30 minutes of Q&A. So at our next office hours, we're going to walk through the exact same stuff that Asen just showed and have even more time for questions and answers. So this will be a chance for people to ask how things will work, more details on things they may not understand. So if folks are interested and want to get more of that, definitely join the office hours. We'll have links for that as well. After that, Q3 is when we're going to start rolling out content updates. So things like Microsoft Learn documentation, videos on the Microsoft Community Learning channel, or Community channel, whatever it's called. This will be a chance for us to go even deeper into the changes that we're making, start preparing content, which we'll talk about more in a moment. And then the big update is, when will this start rolling out to all of you? Right now we're looking at Q4, so starting, that, what is it, September to December, no, October to December. I know how quarters work. End of this year is when this will start rolling out to all of you. And of course, we'll have roadmap IDs, message center posts, all of that goodness that you'll be able to keep track of the latest updates as things potentially change or move up or move back, whatever it might be. So I want to spend a little bit of time as we kind of get to the close here, looking ahead at what will the experience be like. Asen walked you through the new experience. We walked through some of the day zero experiences, how things will continue to work and be backwards compatible. Unfortunately, we cannot go to every single end user and customer and deliver this exact same presentation. So I want to take some time talking about how we're going to help all of you manage that journey with your users, with other companies that you might work with, and help things out. So we're really looking at kind of two different pieces. We've got our standard channels, the things that you can know and expect from all of us at this point. We'll get the roadmap ID, like I said, so you can track progress. We'll get message center posts so you can see what things are coming. And of course, we have our various blogs. So that link will be live in 10 minutes, and that'll show you everything we showed you today. Folks can look at that and kind of recap it. But we're talking about heroes. We're talking about hero links. So we wanted to start thinking about how we can supercharge and superpower all of the change management that we normally go through. So the first piece is we'll work through in-product tutorials. I'll show you one of those. Yep. And the next slide in just a moment, we want to help the product explain itself to users. So the first time people interact with the new experience, the first time they interact with hero links, we'll show you how they will educate them and walk them through the new experiences. Second, we're going to start putting videos, like I mentioned, on the Microsoft Community Learning channel. That'll be things like our office hour recordings and demos and videos that Asen and I will record and our engineering team will record that walk through all of these changes in detail. The goal of all of this is that you can take those videos and you can show them to your end users or to your admins and make it nice and easy for you to teach your people about how it all goes. Of course, we'll have our Microsoft Learn updates as well. As many of you know, we have a bunch of different articles that talk about sharing, admin policies, external sharing, extranet sites, all sorts of different things aimed at both end users and admins. And we want to make sure all of those get updated for the new experience. When you go and look for that documentation, you've got the right details. And the big thing is we want all this to be high level and in depth, so you can choose if you need the 5-minute overview of the new model or if you need the 30-minute detailed walkthrough. And we want to have those for end users, end user ready content that you can reuse and share with your users, and content for all of you similar to this type of conference and this session, where we can walk you through the details to answer your questions and hopefully get you started. So I'll show you that first run experience real quickly. As you can see, the first time you kind of open up that experience, there's a nice, delightful experience that'll pop up. It'll help educate you. Hey, what is a hero link? When would I use it? How can I update it? How should it work? All of that will be in product just to help users continue through as well. So we are really excited about the new sharing model. As we kind of talked about at the beginning, this is one of the biggest changes we've made to sharing in 15 years. It's a ton of time. I see a couple of our engineering team here. If you want to raise your hand. I see Sean in the back, Robert and G, who as well. They're the ones who've been working through a lot of this. We had to change code here that we have not touched in years because it's deep in the SharePoint stack. And we decided to make the change based on all the feedback that you gave us, the importance of making this simpler, making it more powerful, and we brought that in, we internalized the feedback, and this was the result. So thank you, all of you, for giving us the feedback and making this possible. I'll show you the last kind of normal end type stuff. So if you want to engage with the OneDrive community, there's kind of 3 big places to do it. The first is the Sync Up podcast. I thought I saw Arvind at some point. Arvind's in the front row. I don't know why I'm missing you. So Arvind and I do a monthly podcast about OneDrive. We range on all kinds of topics. So we talk about our OneDrive mobile refresh was our last episode with Olga Daleka. And we'll, of course, have an episode on sharing as well as we get a little bit closer, same sort of content. That's a great avenue if you want to learn about the latest updates, hear from the product team directly. I mentioned our monthly office hours. That's a once a month, third Wednesday of every month at 8 a.m. It's an awesome meeting. Anyone here is welcome to join. You can join at that AKA link. It is our opportunity to both show you the roadmap, show new features. For example, how many of you went to the sync deployment talk? I think it was yesterday, right? Anyone go to the sync deployment talk? Couple people, yeah. So we went through that, a lot of that content and some of those features 2 months ago, I believe, on our monthly office hours. It is genuinely your chance to talk to the product team. We're there every month. We have like multiple PMs, engineers who join. It's a great chance to talk to all of us. And then lastly, of course, the OneDrive blog. It's another source where we get to go deep on all of the content that we put out. Blogs for the conference are going up as we speak. And that, yeah, brings us to close for today. We're really excited about the new sharing experience and model. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you.